Now, all that being said, with the story development, Jeff, do you want to try and develop a story right now?
Yeah.
Okay, so right before we started, I posted on Facebook and reshared it. I wanted a character. What I said was, we need a character created for this podcast. Give us a name, a short description, a job, whatever. Make up a character. You've got 30 minutes. We'll take it from there.
Okay.
We had two replies back.
Okay.
One of them is very detailed. Okay, one reply
Okay.
from Dwayne. Guy's name is Landry. He's tall, gangly, early 20s, still pimple faced. He has a shock of white hair, turned early from an electrical accident when he was a kid. He bears a scar that runs the length of his right arm from the same accident.
Okay.
Currently, he works as a
Oh.
crop duster while going to school to become a quantum physicist. His favorite color is mauve, and every night on the way home, he gets a mellow yellow and a bag of Funyuns. Like, I don't even think we have to develop a story there because that's like the
That
whole
is the story.
Like, there's so much there already, which is great. I mean, talk about somebody with a awesome, he literally read what we asked and then that's what came to mind. I don't think he's been thinking about this character for a long time,
Right. I mean, who's the character? You have him right there. What is he trying to accomplish? It's right there.
Yeah,
It
quantum
was
physicist.
quantum physics.
Everybody's got a history. His history is, he's still pimply faced, so there's an awkwardness to him already. We know the shock of white hair. I mean, he's almost looks like an outcast type of thing. He's got the scar from the electrical out thing. He works as a crop duster. I mean, it's like he doesn't work with the public, and so there's an embarrassment thing there or a not fitting in thing there type of thing.
Right.
So that's a very we could go somewhere with that. Let me read the other one though. And then Brenda posted George. That's the guy's name.
Okay.
He is everywhere but never answers to his name. His job is to leave one wondering who they are. Let me read that again for you.
Yeah.
His name is George.
His name is George.
Like this sounds like a riddle, okay?
Yeah, I know. That's yeah.
All right.
His name is George.
He is everywhere but never answers to his name. His job is to leave one wondering who they are.
Okay. Yeah. So this feels like a really kind of mythical fairy tale
Right.
sort of thing
This
to
is
it.
that angel or something that's around. I mean, that's where I went with this. Is like this is a guy that somehow is always affecting your life. Like he's always watching you
Right.
or something like that. So this is like this starts out like a simple character, and maybe I don't know if he's the homeless guy or if he's the. Are you looking for the answer?
No, I'm trying to see where they. I'm trying to look at this on Facebook so I can read it while we're talking.
Go to because I shared it on my Facebook.
Oh, your personal
So on my
Facebook?
personal one, I reshared it, and that's where some people that follow me.
Oh,
so
I
there-
see.
Now you can read
Okay,
it.
all right.
Maybe it'll sink in a
Yeah,
little more.
that was throwing me out because I was trying to work on the Dwayne story, and then I was like, I got to read this again, and then I got distracted. Okay, but now we're on George. Okay,
Okay, so I like George.
yeah,
I like this idea that he's a mythical. Okay, if we're gonna keep this in a 3-minute thing, a 3-minute end piece type of thing.
okay,
So he is everywhere but never answers to his name, which almost makes me feel like he can interact with you, but you can't interact with him.
kind of like a ghost or something
Right,
like that. Yeah.
right. His job is to leave one wondering who they are. So somehow he's touching or affecting them.
Yeah, a ghost or an angel or a spirit of some sorts, and his job is to leave one wondering who they are.
So I think that this is a person that's challenging somebody.
Yeah,
And maybe the whole thing of the story is this story is about how you, if you're gonna take it personally when you're done watching this, how you affect everybody else. You might affect them. They have no idea you're affecting them though.
right.
So they don't know who you are necessarily. They don't. I never answer to a name because you don't know my name, type of thing. But something I did affected you in your day-to-day life.
Okay, now that's an interesting concept. So we're going less of Tom as this character who is like a ghost or a spirit, but it's an actual person, and it's just how we have these interactions in each other's lives.
Yeah.
But almost like you think of a movie like Run Lola Run or Sliding Doors, where a small something, like a door closing 2 seconds earlier, changed the entire outcome of a story, and so you kind of see what the story would have been like. So that might be interesting to sort of start off with an event where it's very trivial, but we sort of see three. So we have 3 minutes. So maybe we see the three different ways the story could have
Oh,
played out,
okay. I like that. All right.
or or maybe the two different ways, right? So if we try to keep it a little bit simpler, so what if these two people bumped into each other? What if they didn't? And then you sort of follow the two things. So now we just need to figure out the two different arcs that we would want to play out
Okay.
and how to play them out.
What if George is like as a bellhop or something? He's everywhere. He's
Okay.
all over. He's opening doors.
He's
He's doing all
everywhere,
this stuff. He doesn't answer his name. Nobody knows his name. So, he's just the bellhop. He's moving your packages, or maybe he's opening or closing the door.
Right.
And so he is going to be touching and affecting people coming into a hotel.
Right.
And then you want to do like three different I like the three different stories or three different characters. And so, you have the one scene that plays out, and hotel lobby is really busy. Yeah, the one scene that plays out mundane, we can make it 20 seconds, and then that gives us 45 seconds to tell each story, or how it affected it because of what he did. So somehow he's got to touch each of these three people.
Okay,
What are
so
you
maybe it's
thinking?
not a retelling of a story and how an incident might have changed, but it's three different stories about how he touched them, but they don't know. He could be a taxi driver too.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Because I feel like maybe a doorman, he's there and you know where he is, but a taxi driver, once you get out of that taxi cab, you're never going to see this
No,
guy
yeah,
again.
no idea. Actually, I like the taxi driver thing too, because you could. I like the idea of like this of George almost, if we could pull it off, doing one thing that is somehow affecting three different people. And as a taxi driver, you're picking up one person, you're not picking up the other. You're causing a guy to get in a crash on his bicycle accidentally. You could be doing multiple things just driving a taxi cab if you wanted to. But you were thinking, like, okay, so he picks up somebody, gets into his cab, somebody else misses the cab, drives off.
Right.
What happens there? That's your 1 minute. Okay, now what if he picks up the one person but not the other? What happens there?
Right.
And then now, what if he picks neither one of them up, and what happens there?
Right.
That's what you're kind of thinking it's telling?
Yeah, that's originally what I was
Okay.
thinking, but rereading this again, we don't have to be married to that. We can just do three different people. I mean, it would be simpler to tell. What do you like? Are you
I'm not
drawn
married to either one. So,
Neither
but
am
what
I.
were you saying? We could be telling the story of three different people, is what
well,
you're
like
thinking?
like you were going towards where it's just the two or three different people that he touches.
Okay.
His job is to leave one wondering who they are. I think that's the next thing that we need to figure out. So we have these two different streets that we can go down. But we need to find out his job is to leave one wondering who they are. So they have to have an encounter with him, and because of their encounter with him, they sort of have that they question their lives or who they are or how they've been living it
Okay. Okay.
because of this interaction with this taxi cab driver, or something that may be related to that they don't even realize is because of it. To them it might just be a random circumstance that happened, but be him, he intentionally had that on the radio, or he intentionally drove by this certain place, or
Ooh, so now okay. I like where you're going with this, and I think this is the right direction for it. And what let's see, what's one person? So George driving up his taxi cab, and he's picking somebody up, but how does he?
not answering to his name because people yell
Right.
taxi, not Bob.
Right.
Okay.
So somebody's yelling taxi, and
Okay, here's how we figure this out. His job is to leave one wondering who they are. Okay, what is a taxi cab's job? Driver's job. What's
to get him from point A to point B.
right? Now that you think you say that physically, but what about philosophically or metaphorically or spiritually, or take that same concept. A taxi cab's driver is to get them physically from point A to point B, but if you think about it philosophically, psychologically, you want them to get from this point of thinking to that point of thinking.
You want to change their attitude.
Right.
That's something you want to.
So I think there's something intentional about the way he goes about this.
Okay. So if and if I'm stuck on picking somebody up, tell me. But so he needs to be choosy, or he picks up one person and then he purposely is picking up this other person because he knows the two of them are going to somehow affect each other's life.
Right. Or maybe he drives by, maybe the person gets in the car and they're on the phone complaining about their first world problem, so he drives by a homeless person who's starving for a hamburger.
Oh,
and all of a
okay.
sudden they see that and they're like, oh, whatever.
Okay, and that is going to be a good, simple way to tell a short 45-second, 1 minute type effect of this person.
Right.
So he's really he's able to pick up and really listen in, and I like that. And another character could be somebody that is just in there, talking on their phone. I'm trying to think of something. I don't want to go with that direction of just the and maybe we do need to just the business suit guy who's talking on the phone, and it's all about the money and everything else like that, and how it's everything he ever wanted, and maybe he purposely picks up somebody else who's totally the opposite of that. Like they have nothing, but they're so happy, and this guy's got everything and money, but he's so stressed. And there's that click thing that this guy realizes all of a sudden, oh, I should be out playing with my kid or something like that.
Or what if he picks up the business guy and he's with a prostitute, and then he goes to another place and picks up his wife?
Okay, he picks up the business. Oh, I see. Okay, yeah, picks up the business guy who is with the prostitute, and then also picks up the guy's wife. So you're just looking for an all-out, brawl with chairs being thrown. Then at that point,
Right.
you're looking for that. Okay. I like this George character. We're gonna have to develop the beginning to end story, but I like this George character.
So I think a good arc, if we want have some sort of arc for him, even what we might be able to do is if we do a 1, 2, 3, 1 minute is this character, minute 2 is this other character, minute 3 is this third character. What if he is a third character? What if he takes character 1? Yeah, so let's just say for argument's sake, the first one is what I mentioned about, the guy with a girl, and then he takes him and that's the wife or whatever. Or maybe a priest gets in or something like that,
Okay.
right?
Yeah, gives him a conscious or
yeah,
something. Makes him
so
think.
something like that. So that's minute 1. Minute 2 is your thing, where it's a business person and they're so overstressed and in their own world, and then something pulls them out of that.
Mm-hmm.
And what if the third act was his story? What if he drove by something and accidentally almost changed his own life?
I like that. I like that, and I like that. That George, somebody else leaves George wondering who he is.
Right.
Type
Who
of
am I?
thing.
Yeah.
He thinks he's fixing all these people and stuff, but doesn't realize that he too is lost somewhere or has this thing, this void that's missing, or
Right.
something that's going on. So he almost needs, and maybe it's a holding on thing, and maybe it's a death of a wife or a child or something like that that's really affected him, and so he thinks that everybody else needs to appreciate life so much more. But he's holding on to it so much, and it's tormenting him on the inside, and he doesn't realize how much it's eating him away. And maybe that's too much story to tell,
Yeah.
with what that is. But yeah, there's something that's got to happen that he's got to realize that it's okay to move on, or maybe he's taking all of these people's problems on as his own problem.
Yes, like our altruist movie. What if he's trying to be an altruist and he's trying to solve other people's problems, and he needs to refocus
Hmm.
somehow?
And the refocusing could be, and it's a simple, and I don't know if it'd be a cop out, but the refocus is, and I guess this is what really happened in like the altruist. The refocus is he needs to realize that he's got somebody he needs to take care of, or he has something personal that
Oh, okay. That's
because in the
interesting.
altruist, yeah, he was taking care of all these other people's problems, but he was completely missing everything going on with his wife and daughter and the ultras. So, is there something? So we need to find something that this George guy is missing or is forgetting about.
Yeah, I mean, what if we kind of set up that he's just doing this because he's just alone and doesn't know what else to do with his life, and then someone leaves a baby in his taxi cab, and now he has something to
take care of,
right?
Or to be a part of his
Yeah,
life.
I mean, clearly intentionally left there, not like, oh, I should hunt down the I should hunt down the owner of it. Right?
No. Yeah, clearly intentionally. There's a note type of thing.
Right. Yeah.
Please take me to.
Okay. Well, that's.
I think I like the direction that all went.
Yeah, it's a good mock-up of a story. I mean, obviously, we would go through and start fine-tuning the 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, from there, and then really develop the individual first two characters.
Right.
And then make sure that you could see that George is maybe not complete. I mean, there's got to be something there.
Right.
Or maybe that's just the good twist after the second character
Right.
is that, George is now alone again
Right.
in his taxi cab. So
Yeah.
maybe there's something between these pickups that's happening with George, that there's this loneliness or something, and maybe it's just the silence of it that makes you realize there is something missing in his life.
Yeah, and I really think that this would work good for a 5-10 minute film.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, as always, you and I tend to make things more complicated than is the
need to
time than we have the time to make them.
Right.
I think it would breathe really a lot better with something like that. It's quite a bit for actually a 3-minute movie, but if it was a 3-minute movie, I'd almost want to focus on his story and have these other people who come in and out make him
right. Yeah. Because you want to. I'd want to focus on his story and the loneliness of him, and that loneliness needs to be empty time. And so you need like a scene with him driving by himself with there being no music to last for 15 or 20 seconds, so you can feel his loneliness. So yeah, you really would have to focus on him more than the other two.
Right.
In that. So there's the idea. That's this is how all of our short films get developed, is doing something like this. And I'm glad you guys have stuck around to listen to that, and maybe we'll develop that more. But one thing we are going to do, for at least for Camp Kill No More, is we're going to break it down now. My thinking, Jeff and I have just started talking about this. My thinking is, let's watch that first act, and we'll plug it in and just watch it live of the introductions. And then let's break that down and how we filmed it, what worked, what we would have done better, type of thing, and then do the same thing with the killings and the same thing with the wrap up, and kind of explain where our thought process was and everything else on it. So let's break it down into more detail and give you guys an idea of how to put together your own short film budget wise type of thing. And this, wrapping this all back up to Comic-Con in the beginning, they have their own film festival, and if their stuff was that boring, Jeff, you and I should get a film into there.
Well, that wasn't the local stuff. That was
okay.
Yeah,
that was all right.
Okay, so we're playing the first part.
Let's tease the first part. Let's not talk about it now. We got a speed round and we're running into an hour.
Do you want to save this for next week?
Yeah, let's save it for next week.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll save that for next week. But let's end it off with the speed round thing. I'm kind of interested in our topics for each other. Thank you guys very much for sticking around while we just talked a story out and everything. I had fun doing it. I hope you enjoyed some, just hearing the process happening live and us stuttering through it.
I really so let us know if this is something that you guys are into and you want to hear more of, because Steve and I could totally do this like all the time. So
and maybe find this story or another one that we'll just as we podcast, we'll develop and make it into a short film. So yeah.